Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. All right. So, we are going to discuss the Samadhi Bhavana Sutta today. So I hope that you have had the time, that you were able to go through the sutta. All the information regarding the sutta is available up on our website, dhammacenter.uk, under resources. For those of you who have not had the time, that's quite all right. We'll be going through the sutta in detail, and that should be quite enough for you to understand the sutta very well. Wonderful. So now the Samadhi Bhavana Sutta, within the circles of Theravada Buddhist meditators, within clergy and laity alike, this sutta is very much a sutta that is always recommended to a person who starts off, or a person who starts off the practice in meditation. The sutta is quite important in a way. Of course, it is used by clergy and laity alike. It is one of those suttas which is recommended as an introductory sutta. The sutta also gives us the ways by which these different techniques of meditation can be used and the results of those techniques of meditation. It also gives us a good idea, this sutta gives us a very good idea about what we could achieve in mind, right? In mind, and how that particular achievement can be used for the attainment of Nibbana, right? So we do know, well, most of us are practitioners here, we do know that the path leading towards the attainment of Nibbana is not based on just sitting down and doing anapanasati, or which is not just sitting down and doing a vipassana technique. We need to have a proper base, a foundation, more base that is wholesome in a way that we have a balanced life altogether, right? A balanced practice, a balanced life altogether. Of course, sometimes it is a very difficult ask to have a sort of a balanced life. There are challenges that we all face as we do sort of go on this path, that are predominantly arising from the mundane activities that we would be doing in our lives to live and survive in this world, to live, survive, and thrive in this world. So yes, there are people who are able to go forward in the practice without much difficulty, and there are also people who find it a little bit difficult. That is very much mentioned within the Dhamma. That is very much mentioned within the Dhamma. Now let us come to the sutta and go along the sutta and go dwell deeper into its meanings and the way that it has been expounded, right? Now, the Samadhi Bhavana Sutta is that which is a sutta that originates in Savatthi, right? That originates in Savatthi. Now it starts off saying, right, bhikkhus, there are 4 ways of cultivating samadhi, right? Mental stillness. Now, what is samadhi, right? Now, samadhi is defined by, right? It's defined by the Vishuddhimagga to say that samadhi is one's ability to still the mind within an object whilst there are being many objects, right? Whilst there are being many objects. Now, as we are sitting wherever we are sitting, as we sit down to meditate, right? As we sit down to meditate, there are the sounds that appear. There are the sounds, the smells, the taste, the feelings all over the body, the temperature, all of these feelings. And even although our eyes would be closed, we do get the sort of shadow of things moving about, or the light, the sun, right? Now, these are all objects, right? Your ability, the ability of a person to maintain one's mind or still one's mind upon one specific object is samadhi, right? Now, please remember that, right? Samadhi in the Western world is defined in many, 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 many ways, right? But within Theravada Buddhism, right, within the orthodox teachings of the Buddha, samadhi is defined in this manner, right? Samadhi is defined in this manner. What are the four? There are four ways of cultivating mental stillness or samadhi. What are the four, right? The first one being, right, there is bhikkhus, the cultivation growth of samadhi for bringing about dwelling happily here and now. Ditta, Dhamma, Sukha, Vihara. Ditta, Dhamma, Sukha, Vihara. Dwelling happily here and now, right? Now, what does this mean, right? Dwelling happy here and now, right? Now, as we go on, right? As we go on meditating, right? In the path of practice, we know, although a person would be aiming towards Nibbana, right? Although a person is aiming towards Nibbana, excuse me, although a person is aiming towards Nibbana, we have to employ different other techniques for us to support our practice. Now, for example, I have just come to know that many monks who are meditating develop issues like sciatica, trapped nerve, right? Because they sit for a long time. I have even heard that in Amaravati, right? There are many monks with this sciatica, trapped nerve issue, right? Now, I personally, the way that we were trained, we were always taught to use yoga, right? Even whilst we were living in the forest monastery, we would all get up at around 4:30 in the morning, and before we start meditating or anything of the sort, we would do a bit of yoga and then start meditating, right? Now, yoga is not a technique, is not something that is specifically mentioned within Buddhism, right, by the Buddha. I don't think there was a necessity to mention it, because the Buddha has, of course, spoken about the importance of taking care of one's body. He has taught us how to eat, right? He has taught us how to eat. He has taught us to the stomach, right? 1/4 of the stomach should be air, the other should be water, right? The other should be food. Likewise, he has gone into detail about telling us how to live. The practices of yoga, these exercises were very much a part of the Buddha's time, right? Especially practices such as yoga, because Hinduism, Brahmanism was something which was very, very much prevalent during the time of the Buddha, right? So now we have to know how to, of course, the Buddha has given us the teachings which help us to develop concentration, samadhi, leading to the attainments, right? But with that, we must also look at our food, right? Look at how the food affects us, right? Look at the way that we live, right? The way that we live, meaning the environment that we are in. Sometimes we sort of have a lot of clutter in the house, right? Now these things also affect the way that our samadhi, or the way that we progress into samadhi, right? The way that we progress into samadhi. These things very much have an effect on how the meditative practice sticks with us, right? Now, dwelling here happily, here and now, Ditta Dhamma Sukha Vihara, right? What does this mean? Now, this is brought about by the 4 jhanas, right? By the 4 meditative absorptions, right? Now, the 4 jhanas are a part of the focus-oriented techniques of meditation, right? Focus-oriented techniques of meditation, which we in Pali refer to as samatha meditations, right? Now, the jhanas are very, very powerful in the way of the support that it can give for one to attain or pay one's practice towards vipassana or insight meditation, right? The samatha objects or the samatha meditations or the jhanas, right? Because of its ability, because of the strong samadhi that arises through the development of the jhanas with the subduing, right? The jhanas can only be attained with the subduing of the hindrances. And because of the subduing of the hindrances, this allows the mind to be able to cognize the subtle intricacies in the world, which allows one to see the true reality in true depth of reality, right? The 4 jhanas, there are many instances where monks and lay people alike sometimes fall prey to the illusion that when one attains the jhana, that one has now become enlightened. Why is that? Because the power of the jhana, stillness of the samadhi that arises as you sort of go into the jhana or attain a jhana is so profoundly calm and serene that one now imagines that one has now attained enlightenment, because the hindrances seem to be non-existent. The hindrances seem to be non-existent. Something that I would put on to you to sort of ponder on is if the jhanas are so profoundly still and so profoundly peaceful that it subdues the hindrances and gives you an unearthly or beyond earthly experience, just imagine what the Lokottara attainments or the supramundane attainments would be feeling like, right? Just for your contemplation. Now the jhanas, right? The jhanas, whilst when a person, of course, attains the jhanas during the time of meditation, the hindrances do not, or the hindrances are well suppressed. When a person comes out of the jhana and he's going about his normal activities, the hindrances are also at that time suppressed, right? Now a person no longer has the jhana, is a person who has developed the jhana in the past, but no longer has the jhana. But even the mere thought of the jhana experience or the absorption experience subdues the mind, calms the mind, gives clarity and vision to the mind in a way that one can use that experience, that reminiscing experience, in a way that one can use it in a way that it aids the practice of vipassana, to soothe the entrance into vipassana, right? To soothe the entrance into vipassana. We are going to this sutta. If you have already read this sutta is quite small. It's quite short, right? It is an important sutta, right? How long or short it is does not sort of say how important or lesser it is. It is a short sutta, so I am going to take the time to go deeper into the jhanas and the other factors so that we get a broader vision of view about what the Buddha is speaking about or trying to elucidate on, right? What the Buddha is trying to elucidate on. Now the jhanas, right? There are something called, or there are factors called the jhana factors. In Pali, vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata, right? Vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, and ekagata. The jhana factors, vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata, right? Now, what is vitakka? Vitakka is initial application, vichara, sustained application, vitakka, vichara, piti, zest, sukha, happiness, ekagata is one-pointedness, right? The examples that we use to elucidate or explain the vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, and ekagata is, vitakka is like when an eagle is flying high in the sky and he looks down, he first sights his prey, right? That is the moment of vitakka or initial application of mind. Vichara, right? The eagle is flying above the sky and he now spots his prey, right? He spots its prey somewhere. He spots it. The moment of spotting the prey, this is known as the vitakka, right? This is known as the vitakka. Vichara is the moment he starts descending. He starts descending down to catch the prey, right? Descending towards the prey, not to catch the prey, but to descending towards the prey. Prey is known as vichara, right? Zest is seen as, for example, it is spoken of in a sense of happiness that arises in a way when one is in a desert and sees a pool of water far away. The moment that he sees the pool of water, the way his mind is sort of elated by the mere fact that he just sees the water, that his hope has now paid off and that there is water in the desert now that he can drink, right? This is zest, that experience when you are going through, such an experience, but you finally see a pool of water. That is what zest is. And then the happiness is the happiness that overtakes the whole body when you are within this experience of jhana, right? When you are drinking this water, when you have your prey with you now, right? And then one-pointedness is the mere stilling of mind, where nothing else is now disturbing you and you have stilled the mind, right? Now, as you progress, we will be going deeper into the jhana factors when we come into the rupa vachara plane consciousnesses in Abhidhamma. But for now, the jhanas, when we take the jhanas to progress in the jhanas, to go from the first jhana to the second to the third to the fourth, right? What do we have to do? For example, let us take the first jhana. The first jhana has 5 jhana factors. It is very gross. It's heavy. It's busy. It's not as calm compared to the 5th or the 4th jhana, right? Why? Because there's vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata, initial application, sustained application, zest, happiness, and one-pointedness. I'm very sorry. And one-pointedness, right? Now, what do you do to progress To progress in the path, you have to let go of the first factor, vitaka. How do you let go of it? You start seeing faults in their being sustained initial application, right? That they are being initial application, right? Now in the sutras, in Abhidhamma and Sutra, there is a bit of a disparity between the jhanas, right? In the sutras we speak about, right? In the sutras we speak about the four jhanas. So what it then entails is that when we move on from the first jhana to the second, that we let go or abandon both initial application and sustained application. Do you understand? Both initial application and sustained application. But in the Abhidhamma, it is held that initial application is first let go of, and then in the second jhana, when you want to progress on the third, you let go of the sustained application, right? Please know that as a point of information. Right now, because we are studying the sutras, we are going to talk in terms of the four jhanas, meaning that you let go of both initial application and sustained application, right? So how do you do this? You start finding fault in the jhana which has both initial and sustained, and you give more energy towards the rest of the jhana factors, zest, happiness, and one-pointedness. As you go along this practice, what happens? You come or find the balance where you are able to let go of the initial and sustained application and balance yourself, stabilize yourself upon the rest of the three factors, right? Now, one might imagine, Bhante, how does this happen? Let us think about your anapanasati or breathing meditation practice. Your anapanasati or breathing meditation practice, right? In anapanasati or breathing meditation, right, one struggles at first to identify and observe the involuntary breath. The moment that one adverts or start adverting the mind to notice the breath, what happens? You start controlling the breath. So it takes one a couple of days, a couple of weeks, sometimes a couple of months to find the balance in samadhi where one is able to now observe the breath, the original, the unhindered, the unobstructed, the involuntary breath, right? In a couple with a lot of practice, right? Now, take that experience. You first did not know how to find that balance. You did not know that there was a threshold. You thought it was almost impossible. You thought that you might have been broken sometimes, you might have thought, right? But as you went on, you experienced for a moment, for a split second, you noticed that you did. Actually, you were able to notice the breath without controlling the breath. Then you were given a bit of hope. You were then gushed with a bit of hope that you kept on trying. You kept on trying to find the balance. And this is also something quite like that. Quite like that. But the easier part of this is because you have an object that you are focusing on, a nimitta, a sign we call. Nimitta is Pali, sign is English. We have a meditative sign that we use to get into the jhanas or the absorption. So you letting go of initial application and sustained application is all to do with that sign, right? Like that sign. Similar to anapanasati, where the sign, or breathing meditation, where the sign is the breath, right? Now, the point that I wanted to bring out is, now then one, to move on from the second jhana to the third jhana, what does he do? He lets go of another gross factor, the zest. Then to move on Beyond that, to the last jhana, what does he get rid of? He gets rid of the happiness, sukha, and is now left with upekka and ekagata, right? Equanimity and one-pointedness. Upekka, this feeling of equanimity, it is said in the Vishuddhimagga practice, right? In the practice mentioned within the path of purification, it is said that Upekka is a very, very subtle meditation that one should not attempt up until one has successfully entered the last rupa, material, jhana, absorption. Why is that? Because the state of upekka or one equanimity is a state that our mind finds very, very difficult to relate to understand, to even see, because our mind usually dwells within the properties, between the two properties of happiness and pain, right? Within the two properties of happiness and pain, right? The sensations, when we take the sensations, we would usually experience somanassa and domanassa compared to pekka, right? Upekka is usually experience, or one-pointedness is experience when a person just sees, just sees, when you're gazing out aimlessly, when you are doing your cleaning or something of that sort, something that you are habitually inclined to doing, walking through your house, there's nothing special about it, right? But other than that, we usually operate within these extremes, or within the emotions of bliss, happiness, and pain, domanassa and somanassa, right? For a person who wants to develop into vipassana, for a person who wants to develop into the jhanas, it is important that one is able to be able to let go, right? That is what I get out of this. It is important for a person to be able to let go. Starting with the simple practices of letting go, one must challenge oneself to go into the deeper states of letting go. Not pushing away, letting go. Letting go is an action within Theravada, within Buddhism, which is always accompanied by kusala, wholesome factors, and wisdom all the time. Letting go, because of its deep-rooted features of wisdom operational within the action, mental action of letting go, it is always a kusala. So please do not confuse yourself or fool yourself thinking that argument that you pulled with a person that you love was in good faith of the practice. It was not, right? It was not. This path of letting go is to be done always with wisdom, right? And when wisdom arises, we know, for those of you who have studied the Abhidhamma, we know that wisdom does not arise with anger and friction, right? Anger does not arise with wisdom in any stage of one's life, right? The letting go must always happen through intellect, understanding, and comprehension, right? And these jhanas, what it allows a person to dwell happily here and now, right? Even the memory of jhana allows or gives the allowance for a person to just reminisce, oh, I had a jhana 10 years ago, how blissful it was. Even that memory allows a person to go deep into vipassana or into vipassana. That is a power of that mind. That is a power of that mind, right? And that ability for a person to dwell happily here and now comes through you being able to let go of the hindrances. Slowly, it will be a task that you will fail again and again and again and again. But when you do, we must remind ourselves that this is a sort of a challenge upon ourselves. The Bodhisattva too, the Buddha, while he was a practitioner too, failed so many times, right? All the way up to his last birth, there was a potential for the Bodhisattva to remain as a household and become a Chakravarti, a universal monarch, but he also had the potential to become the Buddha, which he chose. Thank goodness for all of us, right? Which he chose, right? But still, with all of that practice, for that potential to still be there where he would become a universal monarch is a bit baffling. But that was still the situation for Gautama Buddha when he was in his last life, before he attained enlightenment. It is very important that we keep our practice with the different emotions that we experience through contemplation, through actually being in isolation these days. If you're not going out, you might have discovered things that you have not known about yourself for ages, right? Things that you did not know about yourself, you might have discovered certain annoyances, certain things that you like but you never knew that you liked, things that you didn't like but you never knew that you didn't like. These things you would have discovered about yourself. Now, through these Dhamma practices and all the meditation that we are doing, you might be able to go deeper. And when you realize that there are certain gross natures that you can abandon in your life, work towards abandoning it. Work towards abandoning it, letting go of things that you are dependent upon. For example, we sometimes really depend on our morning cup of tea, right? A morning cup of tea is, quite all right. It doesn't cause any harm. But dependency, challenge yourself to not be dependent upon it. Now, that is somewhere that you could start your letting go practice, right? Where you are not attached, where you build a non-attachment towards it. Right? Where you now consume it without any sort of attachment. Now you are not dependent upon it. This path, this habit of being able to let go with wisdom is something that we must be inclined towards, should we have the necessity, the requirement to progress along the path, right? Now, moving on to the second, right? Which is the perception of light. Right? The perception of light, right? The perception of light brings about the attainment of knowledge and vision, right? The attainment of knowledge and vision. The attainment of knowledge and vision. Now, what is the attainment of knowledge and vision? In Vipassana, now this is talking about the 4 kinds of samadhi, but inadvertently it is leading or taking us into a mind that it has suppressed or in the process of suppressing the defilements, with the defilements suppressing or getting rid of the ignorance which allows one to be able to attain the deeper states of leading towards enlightenment, right? What is the knowledge and vision, the attainment of knowledge and vision, right? The attainment of knowledge and vision, right, is the clear ability of one to see the realities again, to see the realities. Now, the way that we comprehend, when you look at the sensation, we have meditated together, I have guided you in the sensations meditations. When we meditate together and I tell you to be aware of the arising and the passing away of the breath and the other phenomena that arise associated with sensations, if you are able to take yourself back and to reminisce, right? Yes, we see the sensations, but are we seeing the sensations as a image created of our own minds, or are we actually seeing the sensations as and when they appear, right? For example, when we first started off, we are talking specifically regarding the sensations meditation, right? With regards to the sensations meditation, first, let us see, you focus on the forehead maybe, right? You focus on the forehead. You observe the sensations arising and passing away all throughout the forehead. These sensations can be multifold, it can be subtle, it can be gross, it can be fast, it can be slow, whatever these sensations might be, you might recollect the fact that at first you felt that the whole forehead was kind of tight and heavy, as if there was a sensation, like a connected sensation all throughout the forehead. As you progressed in the practice, you now realize that you are able to feel minute sensations arising throughout the forehead. Now the chunkiness, the grossness of the sensations that you first felt are now being broken down in a way that you can feel smaller, subtle, more lighter sensations arising and passing away simultaneously, constantly, spontaneously, as you keep on observing the forehead, right? Now, what is that? That is a clear example of the sensations appearing to the mind or appearing to you, filtered through your mental processes, compared to what the realistic sensations might appear as. What the realistic sensations might appear as. When the sensations are, in reality, it arises and passes away so fast all around the forehead, but you see it as a block sensation at first, right? Similarly, in Vipassana, when we see anicca, that anicca is always tainted by our concepts of what anicca is. It is through a subtle mind that allows one to see deeper into what true anicca is and how it operates around us. Right? It is for that reason that we go into these subtle stages of samadhi, allowing us to tap into those subtle states of mind, allowing us to then be able to see those subtle, light, enlightening states of the three characteristics of vipassana, right? The attainment of knowledge and vision, right, is defined as the divine eye, right? It also can be spoken of as clairvoyance, the ability to read minds, right? And see beyond that which you would normally be able to see, right? This is developed through the practice of aloka sanya, the light meditations, right? The light meditation. Aloka sanya doesn't necessarily have to be just clairvoyance and the ability to see beyond hindrances. Aloka sanya, or the meditations on light, can also be the usage of the light kasinas in the kasina meditations to be used as a tool to dispel darkness in mind, to dispel laziness, lackadaisical natures in mind, right? So it is not only about the divine eye, it can also be the usage of the aloka sanya to bring a sense of lightness, bring a sense of a cooling breeze, if I may, to our practice where you feel lighter. Because let me tell you, the honest reality about meditative practices, you need to know how to lighten it up, right? You need to know how to lighten it up, because when you keep on practicing, sometimes the meditation becomes hard and heavy to an extent where you feel a bit burdened by it. It can feel this way, It can feel this way. Sometimes when you start meditation and you feel all these emotions in a heightened state of mind, right? You need to lighten up your mind a bit. So you use different other techniques to lighten the atmosphere of your practice, right? So people sometimes they start off with a little bit of samatha or focus oriented techniques and they go into vipassana. They start off with a bit of vipassana and go into a bit of samatha. Sometimes they start off with vipassana, go into samatha and end with vipassana again. Sometimes they go in with samatha, go into vipassana and then end with samatha again, right? There are different ways that you will see or you will learn to use the different techniques of meditation to bring in a different vibe, a vibe of lightness, a vibe of energy into your practice. And this is absolutely necessary, right? Now, the bhikkhus of the past, the practitioners of the past, how did they do it? You might think, okay, Bhante, we are doing this. Did the bhikkhus of the past do it? Absolutely, they did. The difference between us and them is the fact that their whole day was meditative, right? Their whole day was meditative. So when they sat down and meditated, they did their vipassanas or their jhanas or their kasinas or one of the 40 samatha objects or one of the vipassana subjects. When they got up and then when they were cleaning and they were doing all of that, they did a different mindfulness. When they were talking Dhamma with their fellow peers, fellow monks, they did a different type of mindfulness, something like compassion, metta, karuna, mudita, right? Or Dhammanupassana, something like that. If they were talking about their sila, they would be doing silanusati. If they were talking with regard to something that the Buddha was saying, they would be doing Dhammanupassana as well as Buddhanusati. Now look at that daily routine. They are doing different techniques of meditation. It is not only about the breathing meditation all the time. When they are eating, they would be doing ahara patikula sanya, the foulness of the food, right? When they are dressing their robes, they would be doing the anusatis or the recollections with regards to the usage of the four requisites, right? When they are going to sleep, they would be doing a different meditation subject. All of these things. If they are in the jungle, in the forest, it is imperative that they do metta bhavana, loving kindness meditation to ward off the evil spirits in the jungle, to give yourself a bit of strength to operate in the dark. It is very difficult living in a thick jungle, right? It is very difficult living in a thick jungle. Why? The moment that the sun goes down, and if there's a storm, the thunder, the sound of the insects, the crackling of the leaves, all of this, if you are not ready, I have met bhikkhus in their 30s who, like crybabies, have run out of jungles in the middle of the night because they have not been able to take it, right? This is nothing to do whether you're young or old. This is to do with the sort of the stability of mind, the awareness that you can harbor and the awareness that you are able to stabilize yourself. It takes a lot of energy, right? So if you compare, those bhikkhus are doing a practice each and every moment of their day. That is why in the sutras and even in this sutta at the end, it comes to the Buddha saying, being aware of the arising and the passing away of the aggregates, because the bhikkhus were actually contemplating on the arising and the passing away of the aggregates all the time. So this is why through the Dhamma, we try to awaken a sense of a Dhamma I, where you are able to sort of bring out the Dhamma in the mundane tasks that we would usually be doing. You would cook for your children. Some people, they say, okay, I have to cook. No, you don't have to cook, right? You can order if you like. You can tell your husband to cook or your wife to cook. If you don't have to cook. This is a decision. So when you make a decision, what do? When you make a decision, you take the awareness into your hand. What I am saying is, don't, just because you are cooking for your children or your partner or whoever, whatever, use that opportunity as well to build kusala, right? To build kusala. You clean your house, you probably share the share and do different cleaning tasks around the house, right? Do it in a way that you're helping out another person. This is a way of caring. This is a way, this is compassion. This is also a way of reaping, sort of sowing seeds of loving kindness, sowing seeds of your practice. So even through your day, although you do not sit down, you might have done a sitting in the morning before you got out of bed, right? But through the day, as you cook, as you clean, as you help your husband, your wife, your children, you use these parts of your life in a way that it is your practice. All of these things, all of the decisions that you make, the only thing that you do, which is not a decision, is you breathing. That's the only thing. There's one more thing, you blinking. You blink and you breathe naturally. All the rest, these are choices that you make. And these choices make and perform these decisions in a way that it supports your spiritual practice. Supports your spiritual practice. And when it does, with everything that you do day by day, you will see that your faculties are growing stronger. You are physically looking more pleasant, that you are now not troubled by the theatrics of living in a house, living with another person, living with a family. It becomes easy because now you are not serving just the family. This is your practice. Your practice, as the Buddha has taught each and every one of us, the practice that allows you to see that there is impermanence, suffering, and non-self existent in each and every phenomena, in each and every corner of this cycle of rebirth and death, right? Of this cycle of rebirth and death. So the second samadhi that brings us about knowledge and vision is cultivated through aloka sanya, or the perception of light, right? Perception of light. Then mindfulness and clear comprehension, right? Mindfulness and clear comprehension. Now, what is mindfulness and clear comprehension, right? Mindfulness and clear comprehension, right, is the way of observing the fundamental characteristics of all conditioned things. The fundamental characteristics of all conditioned things, phenomena in this world, right? Mindfulness and clear comprehension, right? The yoniso mansikara within you, which allows you to work day by day, moment by moment, towards higher states of vipassana, higher states of sainthood, right? That is brought by the understanding of one's ability to observe the fundamental characteristics of all conditioned things. And all conditioned things are impermanent, right? Now, we are talking about impermanence a lot. With Abhidhamma, we are talking about impermanence. With the sutras, we are talking about impermanence, right? Please do not take this in a way that it depresses you, right? We are talking about a lot of impermanence, right? Do not take it in the way that it sort of causes, oh, everything is impermanent. Right? Don't take it in that way. Take it in the way, right? This is to be taken through the basis of your experiential wisdom, things that you've experienced for yourself. The Dhamma is your compass. The Dhamma is your pointer, the waypoint. It sort of shows you the way, right? Which enables us to ease the process. We do not have to discover anything, right? We do not have to discover anything. You know, I've heard too many people say, you know, I'm trying to discover Buddhism. You're not the Buddha. What are you trying to discover? The Dhamma is here. You just have to practice, right? There is nothing here to discover for yourself, right? You just have to practice. The pointers are here. These pointers allow you to go through this process. And remember, right, with modern mindfulness all the rave at the present time that we live in, right? People like to say that we experience different experiences, right? Let me tell you, if you are to tell me what you are practicing, I can tell you if you are to practice 1 more hour with these factors, what you will experience. We do not experience different experiences. We might be slower or faster than other people depending upon our hindrances. But the way this Vipassana practice appears to us is very, very similar to one another of our practices. Some people might, of course, see more lights than another person. That is depending upon the level of hindrances that one has, right? Or the place of mind that one is in. If one is in a dark state of mind, one might if one is in dark state of mind, one might experience gloomy lights like whirlpools all around, shifting from one side to the other, right? If one is in a more lighter state of mind, one will experience lighter colors. But if the moment, sometimes outwardly, we are very light, we are very happy, we are very jovial, we are like very easygoing people, we appear to be. But when that sign arises, and in the sign, when it is gloomy and dark brown, dark purple, maroon colors appears, you know for yourself that there are hindrances within you, right? And I can tell you each and every stage that you will go through with your practice. We do not experience different practices that other people have never experienced. No, we experience very similar things, right? Because this journey, let me tell you people, this journey, we are all fighting with the same hindrances, different levels, yes, but same hindrances. We all have the need for sensual pleasure, hatred, sloth and torpor, restlessness and doubt. We all have, we are all fighting the same evils. We are all fighting the same devils, right? We are not fighting a specialized, bespoke devil that has been created just for us, right? So we will go through a practice with similar experiences, but in realizing, being able to clearly comprehend, going into or cultivating a proper yoniso manasikara, right attention to be able to see all of these realities, we need to develop a sense of anicca. Tomorrow is Vesak, a perfect day to make a good determination, right? Let me tell you, I am here to support you. There are so many monks, very, very good monks, all across Zoom, all around the world, who you can use a Dhamma. Make a good determination, right? Make a good determination in a way that you tell yourself, I am going to do anicca bhavana, right? Where you contemplate on the arising and passing. Sometimes when you live with a person, that person has mood flings, you have your mood flings, right? So might not be so distinct, not in a way that you're ill, but sometimes you see that person needs a bit of space. Sometimes you feel that person needs a bit of attention. You, being the humble observer, contemplate the nature of impermanence, where this person now, the moods sort of shift. The UK weather is the ideal object for anicca sanya. It changes every 5 minutes, right? Right? That is impermanence again. But try to see impermanence. I cannot word this. My English language is too weak to word it in a way. I don't think anyone can sort of word that experience. Do it in a way that you feel it in your heart, where it is not as if you're observing or just looking, or it's not like you're looking at something on Netflix. It's more like you feel it, right? But not in a way that it depresses you, right? Not in a way that it saddens you, in a way that it strengthens you, where you know that it cannot harm you any longer because you are aware of it. You know what is going to happen, right? If the weather channel told you that there is going to be a thunderstorm tomorrow, and if tomorrow you're going to be stunned that there is a thunderstorm, my gosh, who is the fool? Not the weather channel. surely someone else, right? Likewise, you do anicca sanya and these practices in a way. Use, this is the power of the Buddha. You know, when you go into a temple, sometimes I remember the Pauk meditation hall, it was built of teak. When you go into the hall itself, you feel ambience just that takes over your whole body. You want to meditate, you meditate in that hall, you go into deep states, because hundreds of thousands of bhikkhus for the past 40 odd years have been meditating in that hall. There's so much of vibrations there, you develop so fast. Use the Buddha, actually use him, right? You have a Buddha statue at home, use, make sure that each and every day you at least listen or learn something new about the Buddha. Use that to motivate you. The Buddha, power of the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha is a very, very great power that you can use. And when you do, anicca, dukkha, anatma, impermanence, suffering and non-self will be more and more clear to you, because the Buddha has a way of subduing the hindrances. You do not feel like reveling in your petty hindrances now, because you have the Buddha in your heart and mind, right? Develop a practice in that way and use these parts. Anicca Sanya is a meditation that is so, so important. If all of our kids, right, did anicca sanya meditation, impermanent meditation, they will not be stricken by all of these mental illnesses, all of these stresses, all of these corporate fellows, you know, who go to all of their retreats every Friday to cleanse themselves of the stresses that they've sort of created through working. If they all did a bit of anicca sanya to realize, to give themselves the strength to sort of not personalize the stress, to not personalize the difficulty of a working life, the mental health index would look much, much, much better in the UK and the world over. This anicca sanya, regardless of what religion you are in, you cannot say that I am a Buddhist, I do not believe that there is a sun. The sun is right there. What is there to believe in? It's right there. It's a part of reality. Anicca is a part of reality. The only thing that we have to do to notice that anicca is a part of reality is not being a Buddhist. It's just to go and stand in front of a mirror. You look very different from what you looked like 20 years ago. Right? Your children who are toddlers and who are always on your lap now don't want to come and sit on your lap. That is anicca. Right? You realize these things, but make sure that you do not be in the same step for 20 years. No, that is not a good practice, right? Make sure while you make a realization today, make sure that tomorrow you're able to realize a tad bit more, a tiny bit more, allowing yourself to go deeper or progress in the practice. And anicca sanya to that will be a great tool, a great tool. The other, cultivation or the samadhi that brings about, the cultivation of the arising and the falling of the aggregates. The arising and the falling of the aggregates. I have spoken about, I think, each and every sutta that we have been doing through the sutta study, right? We have each and every sutta has this. What is wrong with the Buddha? Why is he really trying to rub it in? Because it's so important. This is the core of Buddhist practice. Being able to observe the whole body of a phenomena. The whole body, as in the whole body of the breath, the whole body of a phenomena, where you know the arising, the time that it is active and the passing away, right? That it arises, that it progresses and it passes away. Most the insecurities that we have, the insecurities that people use and exploit, right? These insecurities arise because we have not understood this arising and the passing away of the aggregates, let me tell you, right? The insecurity that people will leave you, that your friends will leave you, that your partners might like someone else over you. all of these insecurities arise because we allow ourselves to dwell in an illusion, thinking that things last forever. No, things do not last forever, right? But that does not mean that you do not enjoy. Now, today there was beautiful sun outside. When there is beautiful sun, you go out and sunbathe. I also did a bit of sunbathing in the morning, right? Got a bit of vitamin, got a bit of sun energy today, right? Got a bit of a sun kiss. Now, just now, probably it is going to rain tomorrow or the week after. You know, UK weather is never stable. So what do? Just because it's going to rain, just because there is not going to be sun every day, are you going to stop going out in the sun? Are you going to completely say, oh, the sun is not going to be there every day, so I'm not going to enjoy the sun? No, you do not do that. But why do we do that in our personal life? Right? Why is it that we don't allow ourselves to enjoy the present moment as it is in reality's terms? Why do we always have to sort of see it in a way that you want to manipulate and control it and bend it to your likes and dislikes? Right? This is what this teaching teaches us. Even if one does not want, even if our children do not want to attain Nibbana, they probably don't. Right? Yet this practice of realizing or observing the arising and the passing away of all of these conditioned phenomena should give one the strength to be able to enjoy the present moment. When it comes to meditation, the Ajahn Brahm speaks about the expirations, which I love. I heard it when I was a child, when I was a teenager, and just following Ajahn Brahm. I don't listen to Ajahn Brahm anymore because I tend to sort of go for more details, like Venerable Navanyari Dhamma or monks who speak of greater detail now. But when I was young, I used to listen to a lot of Ajahn Brahm stuff. And Ajahn Brahm, he said this, and it has stuck in my mind ever since, right? And I also discovered, or I heard this when I was struggling with my practice because of the same reason. The expirations, right? You meditate, you go through, you are inspired by the meditation. Because of the inspiration that you gain through the meditation, you sit down, you have a good meditation, you're inspired, the inspiration that you experience, right? Now tomorrow you sit down again, and then you want a similar experience. So you wish, oh, let me have an experience like that which I had yesterday, right? So then you go through a practice of aspiration. You aspire, you go through aspirations, you build aspiration, let it be like this, let it be like this, let it be like this, right? And then you practice, you get there. It's not coming. Why it's not coming? Because you don't have the same experience, because you are hoping for that experience, and now you're getting desperate because you are not experiencing what you experienced before. Desperation, right? And then with desperation, you still keep on practicing. You bite the top of your lip and you practice 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 until one fine day, very fast, expiration, you give up the practice. You're like, to hell with this. I can't be bothered. You know, Ajahn Brahm saying this. Now, what is that? The lack of understanding that things arise and pass away. Because of that, what do? You yearn for experiences. You want people to be perfect. You want people to be always kind. No, people are not going to be always kind. People are not going to be the same way. Your house, your garden, all of these things change. And I am all right with it. I am quite all right with it, right? That is the ability that comes through this understanding to even a mundane person, that arises through the understanding of the arising and the passing away of the aggregates. What are the aggregates? The sensations, the materiality, the sensations, the perceptions, the mental concomitants, the mental factors, and the consciousness itself arises and passes away. Arises and passes away. When we experience, our children, they experience something good. They want to experience that again. They want to experience it again. They want to have that experience. Now they grow up, they go to university, or they are even bigger, they're working. They want to experience the lightness that they had, the lightness that they had. So they, without now, but they are unable to experience it. They are unable to, because the lightness of being a child will never arise in our lives again. Because as we live, we develop, we have responsibilities. As a child, you don't have any responsibilities. Your parents pay your bills, everything is taken care of. You just have to come down for lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That time will never arise for any of us again, right? And it's okay. But our kids, chasing those experiences, get into drugs and alcohol and all of these things, because we are chasing. Sia has a song, chasing highs. We are chasing these different experiences that we have. If we all did this practice, the world would actually be a better place, with lower levels of mental health illnesses in the world. Also, we would be better people to the people that we love, to our friends and our family. More than that, our our experiences of enlightenment, or the ability or the progressive path that we would be taking towards enlightenment, would be much, much more effective. Be much, much more effective. To recap, there are 4 types of samadhi, or samadhi that brings about, right? Ditta, Dhamma, Sukha, Vihara, being able to dwell happily here and now. There is Jnana, Dasana, Patilabha, Jnana, Dasana, Patilabha, which is the attainment of knowledge and vision. There is Sati Sampajanya, which is the mindfulness and clear comprehension. Then there is Asavakkhaya, in Sinhala Asavakshaya, or the destruction of mental influxes through the contemplation or awareness over the rising and the passing away of the 5 aggregates. What arises is the destruction of the mental influxes, a loving one to become light and light and light in mind, right? Now let me tell you, when you use these techniques, right, when you use this technique, sometime now you're tired at the end of your day, you are tired, you've come back home, from a long day out at work, or you've been stuck in front of your laptop working on Zoom meetings your whole day. Let me tell you, right, when you go into this practice, you will be like energy machines, producing energy, right? Strengthening the mind and the body, right? And that sort of the tiredness, all of that, when you are instilled within the practice, all of that will slowly, you can dispel it at your choosing. You can go to sleep at your choosing. You can wake up at your choosing. You can energize the body and the mind at your choosing. If you are having a trouble doing that, there is something tiny lacking in your practice, right? The more deeper that you have, the faith that you have, the passion that you have towards your practice, you will be able to develop more and more energy. And that is something that will also help you progressively towards the attainment of Nibbana. Attainment of Nibbana, right? Now that is a sutta, right? That is a sutta. Now it is open. If you do have any sort of questions that you would like to ask, the floor is yours. Please use the clap emoji, or the thumb clap emoji, or the hands up emoji to signal to me that you have a question, and I will unmute your mic. Shriyani, do you have a question? Okay. All right. All right. I'm guessing that there are not much of questions. There are no questions. I'm guessing. Dil, yes.
Mande, this effluence, what's the difference between asavas and anusas? They say these cankers and effluents and all those will get rid of on that fourth one. And is that called ashavakkanana? How do you write that? Can you type it, please?
Asavakkaya, asavakkaya. Okay, hold on. Right, that's asavakkaya jnana. So what is the difference between anusaya and asavas? Yes, Auntie?
Yes.
Yeah?
That's one. Yeah.
Okay. So anusayas is a different way of relating to Dhamma, right? Anusayas are spoken of or related to when we refer to, for example, types of the types how the hindrances manifest, right? For example, the anusayas are the latent tendencies, and then comes a vitikama or the hindrances which arise in the mind but don't go beyond that, and then comes the anusaya, Anusaya, Vitikama, and Pariuttana, right? Where you do use hands and your words, you use your body to now enact what the Anusayas, or rather what the Kilesas, the hindrances, are saying, right? Now that is a different way. Of course, there are ways that we can connect the cankers and the defilements with the anusayas and all of these things. But the anusayas are specifically relating to sort of latent tendencies which keep on producing or creating the potential for akusala or bad to arise in the mind. Right? Bad to arise in the mind. Now, because Dill mentioned anusaya, I'm just going, because we have a bit of time, I'm just going to throw out a piece of information. There is a, a debate. There is a debate within the Dhamma, of course, debate within in a very decent manner, not in any indecent manner. There is a debate in Dhamma questioning the existence. Now, Anusaya particularly refers to the fetters, cankers, wrong, hindrances, right? That are the latent tendencies that operate within the consciousness, right? It refers to everything that is bad. Yes. There is a debate questioning whether there is the existence of wholesome anusaya, right? Whether there is something as a wholesome anusaya, where there is a latent tendencies which are governed through what their wholesome natures, right? What do we think about it? Any sort of thoughts that you might have? Do you think that there could be a wholesome anusaya? Dil, do you have anything to say about that?
I don't know. I think when I rationally think, I think that there can be, but when I've been hearing it in the Dhamma, these answers and asavas, they're all these latent effluents and cankers and tendencies. There's
Okay.
nobody who has spoken, but I think that should be, but that's not how people talk about it.
Okay. So no. We are not. Okay. Right. Yeah. Ru. Yeah. What do you have to say, Ru? Can you unmute the mic? Yeah, we can hear you now. No, we can't hear you. You have to allow for the mic to be used, Ru. You have been silenced by Zoom. Yeah. Okay. Damsiri, would you like to add something? Okay. So now, is there a kusala anusaya, right? Damsiri, what do you think?
Regarding the opposite of anusayas, yes, you have always. Now, when you have a ill will,
Yes.
then the opposite of ill will is loving kindness,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Then sloth and torpor
Mm-hmm.
is effort, excursion, and striving. So for every anusayas, you might have a opposite dharma, which is wholesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And what do you think? Is it possible?
I think it is the Bodhipakya Dhamma seem to be the opposite. Okay. I think it's impossible. Why? Right? Why? Because now, if we take our practice, right now, if we take our practice, the practice of vipassana, the good practice where we let go, charity, dana, sila, bhavana, all of this falls under good, right? I'm sorry, there's someone at the door. So dana, sila, bhavana falls under good, right? And these practices are that which sort of sheds our attraction and roots that we have in samsara. It sheds it. A loving one to attain nirvana, right? If we had a anusaya, kusala anusaya, that for me looks a bit like a root again, all over again. Just as the root, now it is now the prapanchas or tanha, dittimana, the cankers, the fetters, the hindrances, all of these things are that which the attraction, the clinging that we have towards the five aggregates, it's what keeps us in samsara, right? In the rounds of rebirth and death, right? Rebirth and death. But, right, if the same was to be said in terms of kusala being a anusaya or kusala being a latent tendency, we wouldn't be going through this process of shedding and getting rid of. That is why I personally think that there cannot be a kusala anusaya. Because even in the mind, kusala seems to always lighten the mind. If done properly, if a meritorious act is done properly, it gives you a sense of lightness. The mind that was sort of drenched with problems now feel lighter. You can go anywhere, you can talk to anyone. But now, it's if the anusayas are spoken of in terms of kusala, then that experience doesn't seem very logical to me personally, right? So influxes or cankers refers to defilements that keep us in some sort of like sensual pleasure, craving for existence. That was my understanding. Please correct me. Okay, so the word influxes are used. If you're referring to the way the word influxes are used in the sutta, right? These asavas are 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 very much those that keep us in samsara. So you are correct, Mihri, right? You are correct, right? Are there any questions that you have? Other questions that you would like to ask? All right. So this is a Samadhi Bhavana Sutta, right? We are having all of our classes, our Abhidhamma class tomorrow. Tomorrow is also Vesak, but we will be having the Vesak sort of meditation, all of that happening, the Dhamma Center program for Vesak happening on Saturday, together with the meditation and all of that. We have a couple of other speakers also who are going to tune in to sort of speak to all of you. If you do sort of decide to join in, I will be sending out a flyer to everyone, emailing out a flyer to everyone to sort of educate you on what is going to happen. But tomorrow what we would be doing is we would be taking all the donations that we've received to the homeless shelters. We have, thank you to each and every one of you who have donated towards the things that we wanted to get for the Dhamma, for the homeless people, to support the homeless people. Usually Vesak is a time now, most of you all being Sri Lankans, we know, for example, Bauddha Lokamavata alone spends more than 10 million Sri Lankan rupees on the decorations, right? Now, this is a time that we have to do our very best to help people who are less fortunate, right? And I'm very glad that each and every one of you have pitched in. I will be emailing out the details of what happened with the donation, how much of donations we received, and all of that in a email later. So I will send you all photographs and all of that as well. Thank you very much. All the donation money that we have received, we have decided to use to purchase tents for the homeless people, because giving a shelter to a person and giving a person, a woman or a girl, that security of having the ability to close oneself off while one is sleeping, right? I think is a great merit that we could do for another person. So all of the money that you had deposited into the Dhamma Center account would be used not to buy dry rations, but to buy tents, right? And we have also received various donations. People have been bringing through the day. People have been bringing in dry rations, etc. And we will be sending off all of those dry rations as well. So thank you very much. And I will see you all tomorrow at the Abhidhamma class. And I wish you a good rest of the evening. Take care. All the very best, and have very contemplative Vesak. Teron Sarna. Yeah. Good night.